Hello, everyone. Welcome to Surviving-ish. And listen, we're not here to be perfect. We're here in the hopes to be relatable. Y'all, I'm a little starstruck to the point of I'm nervous. I'm probably going to stutter. I have Dr. Sandy Cox with us today, who has become such a lovely friend. Sandy, my friend, thank you so much for being with me.
Oh my gosh, it's such an honor, David. You know I love you, and ever since we met on TikTok,
Yeah.
um, and you messaged me, or I messaged you. I don't know who started the conversation, but I've been a big fan of yours as well. So, please don't be starstruck. There's nothing to be starstruck about. I'm just your friend.
There's so many lovely things about you that we're going to get into through this. So I'm not going to spoil all that now, but I want to let the listener know that Dr. Sandy Cox, who I know as I call her in my head Dr. Sandstorm, which we'll get into later with the whole TikTok thing, but the background and everything that you do is so amazing. You have an extensive background in disorders such as like depression, bipolar, anxiety disorders,
Right.
obsessive compulsive disorders,
Yeah.
trauma induced disorders, and gender dysphoria.
The whole psychiatric spectrum. I'm a psychiatrist. I've been in practice. Gosh, I hate to, I'm going to date myself. I count the day that I started practice as the day when I graduated residency, but really for 4 years prior to that, I was practicing. I was a licensed doctor just in training. So I graduated residency in 1996. So I've been at it for a while. And yeah, the thing about it is we're always learning, right? And psychiatry it opened up a world of learning and being able to heal on a level that prior to psychiatry, I was just for a little bit of time, I was in OBGYN. And that was brutal. Just want to say that we could do a whole show on that.
Sure.
But psychiatry it's evolved a lot since 1996. And so now we're really crossing a lot of thresholds into new modalities of therapy that we haven't had before, or maybe they've been in development and now they're coming more to the forefront and more commonly used. But that's a big relief for me because I'm not a fan of the pharmaceuticals. And for so long, that was all we had to work with. It was either you take this medication or you get some ECT. Now we have more available to us. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm so glad that so many marginalized communities have you and doctors and psychiatrists, educated
Mhm.
people who should be in jobs that they are qualified for. And
Right.
I'm
Right.
sure you already know what I'm talking about and where this is
Yes.
going to lead eventually. But
Yes.
I'm just so glad that voices and people like you that are not kissing a ring.
I've never been good at that. Which is part of why I flunked out of the brownies and and I sort of got kicked out of the brownies and never fit in church in the Baptist church. Was so glad when my parents left the Baptist church and took me with them. Yeah, so for those of us who are rebels in the world, this is a particularly challenging time because we're living in a time where the powers that be want us to be clones of them and they want us to kiss the ring. And it's just, for a lot of us, it's just not in our DNA. We're not going to do it.
I want to know on the latter side of things, what is your surviving ish this week.
For me, right at the moment, I think it is surviving-ish the challenges of being a single woman of a certain age and trying to find community in which I feel I belong, like-minded people with hearts like mine and values like mine. Not that my values are any more elevated than anybody else's. They just are what they are. And it's challenging because of the things that we're going to talk about, my political leanings, my ideology can make it now dangerous to go out and try to socialize with people that I don't know. So I'm sort of surviving-ish that, but feeling a little more isolated. Yeah.
In a time where we have access to so many different people from so many different worlds, and people like you and I, we want to surround ourselves with those people. I don't want to sit around and hang out with 100 Davids. I already know what
Right.
I know. I don't need to hang out with 100 Davids. I want to be challenged. I want
Right.
my mind to be opened up to something that I'm just ignorant to. And sometimes the ignorance isn't because of prejudice, right? Like
Right.
sometimes the ignorance is just because I'm just not been exposed to it.
Exactly.
But I'm
Exactly.
open-minded to all the things. I'm open-minded morally and ethically to to the
Right.
things that I've just not experienced.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not that I'm not open-minded. It's more like if there's this fear of being judged.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm more than willing to sit down with somebody has different viewpoints than I have
sure.
and have a conversation. In fact, I think it would be really great if we could all do that.
Yeah,
But you never know if they're going to take a really aggressive stance. And that's off-putting to say the least and sometimes scary.
yeah.
So,
And so when I was talking about the open mindedness, it was not about you not being open minded. Of course, people like us, we're open minded to that.
right.
But we live in a place right now where anything that I say could be, I could lose my job. We've heard this past week of people,
Right.
and just for the listeners, we're recording on September 18th of 2025. I'm not sure what date this episode will be released, but as of now, we've learned this week of late night talk show hosts
Yes.
losing their jobs and being canceled for a small little joke, which is their job. That their job
Right.
is to make those small little
Right.
jokes.
Right.
You know?
That's right.
And so yeah, that comment, which I know that you know this, was not about you or me not being
Right.
open
No,
minded,
no.
but we have to be selective of how open minded or open verbaged, open mouthed
Hmm. Hmm.
we are to certain people, because there are certain people in power right now that hate people like us for all
Right.
kinds of different reasons.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, I drive a Tesla. I think I told you about that. I bought it before all of the craziness happened. And so to redeem myself, I put a couple of stickers on it. Um, and one of them is the trans rainbow flag. It's just a little sticker on the back window. But just within this past week, I've been wondering, and does this make me unsafe as I'm driving around? And maybe I'm imagining too much. Maybe I'm letting my fears go too far. But, there are the occasional people that are a little out there. I mean, I'm a psychiatrist. I know they're out there. So it makes you wonder, like, how does this label me as somebody gonna on the California freeway out here get get pissed off at me and do something crazy
And I want to make sure I understand. Are you saying because you're driving the Tesla or because of the sticker?
because of the sticker.
And honestly, I see a place where both of those fears could be true.
True.
I find a danger in
Hmm.
someone not liking the trans sticker versus I don't find a danger in someone seeing you driving a Tesla and thinking,
Right.
I don't want nothing to do with her, you know? Like
Right.
there's that bumper sticker that says, I bought this Tesla before I knew, you know, like however it's worded. And I hate that you're in that predicament, all because of your form of transportation.
Yeah.
I,
Isn't it crazy? It's so crazy.
I
Yeah.
can't wrap my mind around it.
Right.
You know, I mean, like, I remember the days when it was like, oh, well, I'm a Ford person, you're a Dodge person.
Hmm. Hmm.
We were still cooking out together. You
Right.
know what I mean? I want to make fun of your
Right.
Dodge Ram. You're going to make fun of my Ford
Oh, yeah.
F-50. Listen to me. I'm talking car talk right now. Like my dad will be
Right.
so proud. I'll have to send him a copy of this. But we were so grilled out together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now things have changed to where we can't agree to disagree anymore.
No.
Because agreeing to disagree with you means I'm agreeing that it's okay for you to think people should be shunned, canceled, put to death,
Right.
not have medical insurance
Right.
in the richest country in the world.
Yes. Yes. And that's getting worse too because of the big, beautiful bill. Yeah, the millions of people who are going to be losing their access to Medicaid, Mima and Papa are going to be kicked out of the nursing home, and then what's the family going to do? Because the nursing home's closing down now. The hospitals are closing down because they can't afford to stay open. They were reliant on Medicare and Medicaid dollars. And it's not like when you take away those benefits, those people just magically get healthy again. They continue to have their illnesses, they continue to need care, and now they don't get it. I don't think that anyone in Congress who voted for that bill is ignorant of that fact. I think they all realize that they are dooming millions of people to worsening illnesses and death, and they don't give a rat's ass.
They're blessed enough to not have to give a rat's ass,
Right.
and they're blessed enough to forget where they came from. I tried to find myself allowing grace to
Hmm.
minorities that are somehow under this MAGA spell,
Yeah.
but I'm battling with that. When I hear a woman voting against what her mother and grandmother,
Fought hard for. Yeah. It's it's hard to wrap your brain around it. But the root cause is the patriarchy. And it's always going to come back to the root cause of being the patriarchy. And which gets me started on my usual rant, but this comes out of my upbringing in the Baptist church and subsequent and never feeling like I belonged there and subsequent discovery of sort of my own spirituality, letting it sort of come up through me, not knowing there was a name for it, and then getting old enough to actually start studying spiritualities and understanding that, hey, wait a minute, this is a nature-based spirituality. This is what I'm doing or what I believe and what is meaningful to me is more along the lines of a pagan, honoring the turning of the seasons and understanding how that is an external reflection of what's going on inside of us throughout the year and being mindful of the earth, which then caused me to start studying, okay, where did that come from? Okay, oh, wait a minute. There was a time, there was a time when everybody everyone across the globe had similar spiritual ideas. They didn't have mass communication, they couldn't communicate with one another, but their lives were based on the turning of the seasons and, the changes in the moon and all of that. And those were the things that they honored. And many, many, many of them honored the feminine in the deity. And some of them were primarily feminine deities. But along came Yahweh and the Abrahamic religions and a jealous God that could not allow any other gods before him. And that's when everything started to turn toward this more really aggressive, male dominated society, the patriarchy. Anything that's out of balance is going to go awry. I mean, anything that's you have to have balance. And forgive me for going on a rant, but like I said, I was going to. I warned you. But um, but the masculine, the archetypal masculine way of being is to plan and conquer and obtain. It's obtaining material things. It's going out into the world and being sort of aggressive, whereas the feminine archetype is more in the cycle of becoming and dying and becoming and dying and in the moment and creative and softer and empathetic and compassionate. Not that the feminine can't be fierce, but because I really believe because we have stamped out the feminine, the true feminine, not the feminine that the Christian nationalists want to say we should
Right.
be, but because we've stamped out the true feminine who is strong and can be fierce and a protector, we are now in an imbalance of aggressive, toxic masculine energy in the world.
Toxic.
Yes.
A thing that I've always battled with, I grew up in a church affiliated home.
Right.
We were never, it was never like every time the door is open kind of thing. It was a lovely experience until it wasn't.
Sure.
And when it started becoming not pleasant, is
Hmm.
when I got to the age to ask questions. The people that were predominant in my life were women. And two of them that stood out to me even to this day, but especially at the time that I was having these questions, were not white.
Ah, okay.
So I was like, I hear this white man up here talking about gluttony who's overweight and and talking about faith and being faithful who's had two affairs. And
Uh-huh.
so I hear all these things like I hear you, but I have questions. And so when I started asking those questions is when things started crumbling.
Right.
One thing
Yeah.
that I want to say about my family that I love is that they introduced me to the Bible and to the community church and to the God that the Christians believe in, but nothing was ever forced. Here, some of us believe this. Here's a
Mhm.
resource. We go, great. I
That's
went, I
beautiful.
went every Sunday. I
Mhm.
wanted to sing in choir. I wanted to light the candles. I loved getting dressed up. I had a crush on one of the boys, before they told me that I was going to get AIDS and die. And,
Right. Right.
which is a whole other story that I've covered before,
Oh, yeah,
right
I'm
there,
sure.
honestly. But I appreciate that, right? It's
Yeah.
like, here's what a lot of us here in the South believe. And they didn't influence me by saying, this is what we believe. So therefore, as your leaders,
You have to. Right.
influencers, they're
Yeah.
like, here, this is,
Right.
and take what you want with it. And so I started asking questions and I was like, this and of course, these are not the words I was using in adolescence, right? But in my
Right. Yeah.
adult life, what I was asking was, he's this God person. He sounds like a narcissistic asshole.
He's
Like
kind of a prick.
he's
Yeah.
a before Donald Trump, Donald Trump. You
Right.
know,
Yes.
like there's a and I was like, I don't understand how women are the bottom of the totem pole. Every woman I know has played a factor in saving my life.
Your
We
role
have,
models. Yes.
and not all of them have pearly white skin. And do we honestly think that Jesus is circumcised? Do we honestly believe that Jesus was white? Who is this picture of this person? He's cute. I
Yeah.
love his six
Right.
pack. Love that. Is that Jesus? Like I couldn't wrap
Yeah.
my mind around that. So I was asking questions, and my family was like, "Let's ask the preacher."
Hmm. And what did the preacher have to say?
The last conversation I had with the preacher was the questions I just asked you with no
Yes.
answers. You know what I mean? And I appreciate my family for that.
Good
They
for them.
put me in that situation to learn and understand on my own because my mom and dad were not in church every day. It was my aunt and uncle who was a part
Right.
of raising. My parents had me at 14. You know, you and I on
Right.
your podcast, we talked about this, which we'll discuss later. But my aunt and uncle had a huge part in raising me. They were a part of the church.
Yeah.
So I was immediately shut down, like, oh, you're
Hmm.
gay and going to hell and you love women, so you're definitely gonna burn extra in hell.
Hmm.
It was
Hmm.
one of those
Hmm.
conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I don't know. I don't know why. When I was very young, and I wouldn't have dared to voice my thoughts, but I couldn't have been much older than 7, maybe 8 in Sunday school. I remember, I can see it still. It's one of those moments that it sort of gets just, it's there in your head, that image. And I'm sitting in the class in Sunday school, and I'm looking up at the teacher who's pointing at Christ on the cross and telling the story of how he ended up on the cross and that it was his dad who put him there. And I was being raised in an abusive home. My dad was a rageaholic. He was an untreated bipolar disorder. And I thought to myself, wow, that his dad sounds a lot like my dad. I don't. And it doesn't make any, oh, he did, God did this for you to forgive your sins. And I'm thinking, how does that doesn't even like make sense to me. How does that forgive my sins? I don't understand that. I don't even believe it. But I didn't, this is all like what's going on in my head.
As a
Uh,
7 year old.
yeah. But, they wanted me to get baptized. I had to get baptized. And I remember waiting out in that baptismal that was up at the front of the church, and there was a spotlight on it, and the congregation was all dark. It was at night. And standing there and looking out at all of them and just thinking in my head, I hope you're happy. I'm doing this for you. I hope you're happy. But like, why am I here? And then I had one of my best friends, her dad was a deacon in the church. And I used to spend a lot of time over at her house. And when my parents figured out what was going on over there, I was no longer allowed to go. But they were wife swapping in their living room every Saturday night. And then he was going to the church to be a deacon on Sunday morning. It was a drunken party. My girlfriend, we would be upstairs in her room, and I'd be like, well, I need to go get a glass of water. Okay, just don't look in the living room when you go down to the kitchen. The living room is right there. Like I saw things I should. See, but my point is that the people of the church were not living what they were supposedly expecting everyone else to live. That's what you're pointing out, is that they're not living the way they tell you you have to live. And I think that's also what we're seeing now in our government. These people have they're pedophiles, they are sex traffickers, they are cruel, they are torturing immigrants, tearing families apart, sending people to prisons with no due process, violating everything that Jesus Christ supposedly taught. So they're telling everyone else, you have to live the way we want you to live, but we're not going to do that. And
Right.
we're going to flaunt it in your face and fuck you if you don't like it. In fact, not only fuck you, but we might cancel you in some way.
Yeah. Not only we're not going to like you, but we're going to mess with your money. We're going to mess
Exactly.
with your livelihood. And that's the part. Well, I can't say that's the part that bothers me the most because so many things bother
Hmm.
me so badly. But
Right.
and here's my truth. I do not think a child should have to walk downstairs, sing along with their friend, and be told not to look in the living room.
Right.
Maybe that night is when that child that said that should have said all night with you, right? Like
Right.
the parents should have said, because I don't care if it's 2 or 20 consensual adults. Do you, be you. If everyone is consensual, if everyone is of legal age, everyone is consenting. I don't care what's happening. I don't care. Have sex, masturbate,
Whatever.
do.
Whatever.
I
Yeah.
don't
You
care.
do you.
Have your child. Why did your friend not sound out with you that night? Why did she? How did she know what was happening in the living room? How was that part of her
I think,
normal life?
and this goes back to, I think, the norms of the day. You
Sure,
have to remember this was in the late 60s, early 70s. Okay. And this was rural Missouri.
sure.
And I think the patriarchy was so strong that dads did what they wanted, moms went along with it, and children were subjected to it.
Mm,
And so, yes, I mean, you're right. By today's standards, that would have been considered child sex abuse
yeah.
because a child witnessing something like that is considered child sex abuse. But in those days, and in her household, and I think many others of friends of mine, it was the norm. And I think many of my friends, my female friends, were being molested at home and also by fathers of friends. Fortunately, that didn't happen to me at home, but it did happen to me eventually and not much later than that. And it wasn't just molestation. So, and it was an older man.
So, not trans.
Oh, no, it wasn't a trans, wasn't a trans person.
Uh, was he American or was he here on?
He was American. Yeah, he was a US citizen, born in the United States.
So
He
not the
was
kind of person that we're supposed to hate now, right?
he was a cis hetero married father of little girls that I babysat. Yeah, yeah. I shudder to think what might have happened to them as they got older.
And I'm not making light when I ask those questions, but it's because right now, the demographic that absolutely there's bad people in every demographic, but statistics show where the core of the problem is.
Yes.
And everyone's having us look at a different core. I
Right.
think that, what is it, 0.001%? The fact, Dr. Sandy, the fact that there are more people in the White House right now, today, that have sexual assault charges or conspiracies against them, even the women, are trans people in sports, but yet trans are, they're some kind of enemy of the US.
Right. Yeah. And to piggyback onto what you're saying, now supposedly there is, I can't remember what the term is, but there's like this gang of trans people that are out to harm conservatives. The, trans people couldn't form a gang if their lives depended on it. They're not even 1% of the population spread out all over the country, and most of them are afraid now to come out into the light of day. So how the hell are they going to organize into some sort of dangerous organization? It's just the most preposterous, ridiculous. These people would they would swallow anything that this administration presents to them. You know, a shit sandwich, they would gladly eat it up if the administration said, "Hey, that's peanut butter and jelly."
I cannot wrap my mind around it. And like, there was a time in the beginning, what was it, 8, 10 years ago, when people like me and you were seeing what was happening when Trump
Hmm.
was getting into this political world. We were like,
Yes.
wait, what's happening? This may sound a little silly, but I appreciate this happened to me. Is I have watched Days of Our Lives for 38 years. I still to this day watch Days of
That cracks me up.
Our Lives. Like, I think where my grandmother, my dad's mom, she played such a role in my youth, and she was tragically taken from
Mm.
us. We were in a car accident by a drunk driver, and she passed, as well as two other people in my family. My brother and I survived, and
Yeah.
I was at that age where I'm going to grow out of memories. One of the things that I always remembered was her watching Days of Our Lives and her even saying every day that I should not let you watch this. But she's still like, she never shoved me out of the room. And I remember her driving me to my first day of kindergarten, and I was crying. And she was like, David, you're gonna make friends. Hey, everyone loves you. You're gonna be great. You're skinny. Everyone loves that. I'm just, but like, she's talking me up, right?
Right,
And
right.
I remember looking at her and being like, I don't care about that. I'm gonna watch Days of Our Lives. And she was like, you get out of school at noon. Days of Our Lives doesn't come on until 1. So we have time to get you home and pack and make you some food, and we'll watch Days of Our Lives. Well, then first grade came around and the time was changing. And this was the time in life that you had to get up off your couch,
Right.
walk to the VCR. And for any of you young listeners, I'll put a link to describe what the VCR is in the show notes. But and push record. And so my grandmother recorded on VHS tapes
Oh my
Days of Our
gosh.
Lives for me. I still
Oh,
have and I saw the VHSs. The VCR stopped working,
oh,
but
that's
I
amazing.
want to. I'm saving them because that is a lovely gift she gave me. And like
Yes.
to this day, I will watch Days of Our Lives and I'll be like, oh, Grandma Nancy would not love that. Like, so it's a way of me remembering. And one of the ways I began to clock Donald Trump is the grab her by the pussy comment
Oh, oh,
was when he was on in his makeup van on the set of Days of Our Lives, and he was talking about one of my favorite characters and actresses, Nicole, and she was shunned. And Days of Our Lives went to bat for her when people were wanting her off the show,
my gosh.
standing up, and they were like they
Wait
just
a minute. Was she the one in the Access Hollywood tape? That was her. Oh, okay. Oh my
and I
gosh.
loved her so much. And so having her character name is Nicole. And so hearing Nicole talk about this, and this was a time that sexual assault was, were you all married? Was
Right.
victim like, like,
All the victim blaming. What were you wearing? Why were you there? Why didn't you have a friend with you? Why, all of the stupid questions.
and she stood up and she was loud and she did not care, lost her job, and
Right.
soap opera actresses and actors, like, they don't make a shit ton of money. They're not
No.
crazy rich. They make
Right.
a lovely salary, but
Right.
most of us, probably even them, if you're living within your means, are one paycheck away,
Yes.
three,
Right.
from shit. And this was Donald Trump, who
Right.
has umped power, and they had him on the show because the Apprentice, I guess, was doing so well then that they had him on the show as himself, as Donald Trump in The
Uh,
Apprentice.
uh-huh.
And for her to be that loud as a woman during that time, we
Very
see
brave.
how women are treated now when they're being
Right. Right.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
And her saying, like, I don't care about my $300,000 salary. You're not grabbing
Right.
my pussy.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're Donald Trump. You're not.
Yeah, you're not. That time when that happened in 2016, the Access Hollywood tape, I just know that I and millions of women in this country were, and not just women, men too, who've been victims of sexual assault, were suddenly having nightmares, night sweats, being anxious, being emotionally dysregulated, feeling irritable, crying easily, not being able to concentrate, all the things that all the PTSD symptoms were hitting us. And quite frankly, even during Biden's presidency, we were never really rid of that man, Trump. So it has been this ongoing, re-traumatizing, triggering presence in our lives every goddamn day, every day. And so, what I've had to do is not only because of that, but also because of everything else that's going on and having a trans daughter who's now out in the world, trying so hard to just live her life. She just wants to live her life. She's young, she's beautiful, and she deserves to be able to live her life. But for Mama Bear and the survivor, for me, I have to, it's constant. I don't know about you, but for me, it is constant cognitive dissonance. I'm trying to live my life. I'm trying to do my work and be a good human being. and love on my fur babies and my family. And I'm the sole provider for my household. I've got to keep my shit together. But there's all of this that's always in, it's just always in the back. It's the background noise that's constantly with you.
Yeah, I think this will be the perfect time for me to share my ish with you. So, my ish this week is emojis. And here's why. I have become very loud and outspoken about what I believe is right. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I try to be respectful of all opinions ish. But I'm confused about the emojis because there are times that I have given an angry emoji at someone's post because I'm mad about the situation, the subject they're posting about.
Mhm.
And then they've been like, wait, are you mad at me
Right.
because you disagree? Or are you mad at the subject?
Right.
And so now, and then I've had the same thing. Like people will all of a sudden they're like, oh, someone's angry face you're
Right.
and I'm like,
Right.
is it because you disagree with me and I need to
Right.
block you or
Hmm.
are we on the same page? And so I've been struggling with that. And I had told you how before we was recording how I had an ish that is a big ish for me right now. But on the way home, I was like, I'm changing my ish because I was stopped in traffic and had a light up on my phone and looked at it, and it was like so and so angry face. I was like, who's mad at me now? and,
Right. Right.
and then it was like it was one of those people that I don't have a lot of conversation with. I feel like
Mhm.
I know their belief and stance on things, but I'm like, okay, was that angry face, that anger emoji because you agree with me, or because you disagree with me and you're pissed off that I made
Right.
this uh,
Yeah.
post. And so that triggered me to remember the first time you and I talked, which you kind of brought this up in the beginning, is that you made a post about something. And to the listener, I'm going to share everything in the notes, but Sandra is big on TikTok.
Not that big.
What I mean is you're very active on it, and you've had great traction. And what I admire about you is you have this way of just raising your eyebrow when you're stitching something, and we all know what you're saying, and you don't have to say it. It's almost that I'm a doctor, I'm a mother, I'm a woman, I'm fierce. My eyebrow says it all
Right.
and you don't have to say anything. I swear, I'm the kind of person that I immediately come in with, "Fuck you, you were horrible. I hate you." I just wish I had this nice tactic, this classy way of saying the thing because no one's going to listen to me. I'm the gay person that you already hate, and then I'm coming in full blazing, you know,
Right.
as to
Yeah.
where you're like, you may look at me as a successful, beautiful white woman and think, "Oh, she's one of us."
Hmm.
And then you listen to her and you find out that she's not one of you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I love that about you. And it's something that I'm trying to inherit and learn. You're probably going to bill me. I will pay.
No.
But yeah, I just really admire the ability that you have to do that. And it doesn't matter if it's 500 or 5,000 or 500,000 people that see it, if two or three people of those see it that get something from it from the opposite side, job well.
Right.
And so because you have had some videos that's gotten huge traction and you are outspoken, but you just have this brilliant way of doing it. And so you came up on my FYP one day and I immediately started following you, loving you, liking you, all the things. There was a time you made a video And I was like, I love everything about this because you are standing, you're a successful, gorgeous white woman. You know what I mean? Like, the only more privilege you get than that is either being married to an even more successful white man or being the white man, right?
Right,
Like there's
right.
privilege that comes with. I have privilege, white
Hmm.
man from a great family and some money. You find out
Right.
I'm gay, I'm knocked down a notch or two, but either way, they're still
But
privileged.
still, yeah.
And so I listened to your video, I liked it, or I followed you, and I started listening to more. And I, a week later, got glasses because I got a message from Dr. Sandstorm on TikTok that said, "What's so funny?" And I went
Oh,
back, you remember? And I went back and
I
looked, I was like,
do.
I gave like 3 or 4 emojis that was laughing, crying over something that you and I were like hardcore believing and supporting. And then all of a sudden you get a notification that this David person that you don't know is like crying, laughing. And I thought it was the cry emoji as for sympathy, empathy.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and so I messaged you privately and I was like, I'm an ass. And this is what I meant. And you're like, oh, I told you were so lovely. And I was like, so just so you know, I'm going to delete that comment. I just don't want you or anyone else that's like could maybe see
Right.
it to
Yeah.
be like, oh, well, I guess laughing guy doesn't think it's funny anymore. So I have to respond to that. And then from there, we
Yeah, we connected. Right. And I started listening to your podcast and I really respect what you're doing on the process. I think that there's so much value in that for so many people, people who are trying to recover from trauma. But yeah, so I get it. Yeah, emojis are tricky,
you know,
especially for my generation. I'm like, I don't know. Is this the right one? Maybe I should just say what I'm like, I should just type it out, what I'm thinking and feeling, rather than trying to pick an emoji that I think maybe it's going to be the wrong one. I mean, Gen Z could tell me, but
and I don't even know if they know. I think that this
maybe they
is a transitional period
don't.
that I think the only people that are doing the emojis right now are the ones that are like us that are spending 20 minutes trying to figure out if it's the right one. I think I think the Gen Zs are like, you know what? I'm just gonna scroll, and I'm gonna see you, I'm gonna hear you, but I'm just gonna scroll because
Right.
I think I don't know, but I so I have learned to still send the red faced. I hate that another MAGA person
Yes.
who's the preacher of a mega church is taking
Ah,
money and molesting your children is in prison. I hate that that happened to your children. I love that he's in prison. I'm angry this situation even exists.
right.
Now I'm having to take, and I'm okay doing it in today's America, take
Mm-hmm.
a few seconds to also leave a comment saying,
Yes.
shame on him. So that way, if
Right.
anyone's like, who's this David guy with the red car face? They can see in the comments, I'm like, the fact that this is a news article,
Yeah.
the fact this is a current event, mad at that.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at
Yeah.
you posting it and bringing awareness. I'm mad at this.
And I think that's why texting and social media leaves so much room for misunderstanding, misinterpretation. And we've lost, I'm going to sound like an old person, but we've lost the art of conversation,
Sure.
which is why I think that's why people gravitate to podcasts because they're hearing people in actual conversation. It's not somebody just talking. Sometimes a podcast is somebody just talking at them alone, solo. But I think people crave that sense of community. And part of what has been on my mind and occurring to me more and more lately, with everything that's going on, with the tariffs driving up prices on everything, and people are barely able to keep ends together, with families being torn apart, with everything that's going on. What we need more now than ever is community. And that means getting out, that means actually getting outside of your house and talking with your neighbors and going to, whatever community functions you can find. I think that we're going to go through, here's my prediction. We're going to go through some shit. We're going to get it all over us over the next 5 years, I think. And astrologically speaking, that all lines up. I'm also an astrologist. Um, but part of I think this has to happen because I do think these systems have to break down so that we can recreate systems that work for us, that bring us back into contact with one another. I want to see more community gardens. Why? I want to see more people growing gardens in their front yards. Why are we watering lawns just to water grass? Let's grow things that we can share with one another, that we can use. I think we're going to have to start relying on the barter system with one another and get creative about that because, we all bitch and moan about giving our money to these billionaires and their corporations. Well, let's stop doing it. Let's find more creative ways of supporting one another and each other, ourselves and one another.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that we are accustomed to putting band-aids on things, and
Right,
we're going to bleed through the band-aids, right? Like we have
right,
to get to the core of the problem.
right.
And
We're going to actually have to get out the needle and the stitches and clean out the wound and stitch it up. We're going to have to put the work into it. We can't do this on a keyboard. We can't do this on our phones. It requires actual physical work and human contact.
I truly, truly, truly mean this respectfully to any straight person, any white person, any straight white male. In my, I have plenty of straight white men in my life. I love them. I'm a white man, not straight, but like I mentioned before, I still have privileges, right?
Right.
And just because of that,
Mhm.
I think that okay, I want to preface with this. I am not as classy and elegant with words and phrases as you are. So allow grace with that.
Please, you're
You and
fine.
the listener allow grace because I'm like, the one bit that will ever happen to me is someone being like, this guy hates white people and he's white when he doesn't have a spray tan, you know?
Right.
But I think we have to get to the core of the problem. And I think that
Mhm.
we are really good at putting band-aids on bleeding
Right.
wounds. And,
Yes.
and we bleed through them. And we are accusing, sacrificing people that are not the core of the problem. And I think it
Right.
all goes back to the acknowledgement of mental health, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
mental health was something horrible for every demographic, everybody. Well, then they started saying, well, women have mental health issues because, I mean, they have babies, our bodies go through things. Well, of course, these people that are born a male but think they're a woman, that there's mental health issues with that. I can see that. There are people that like to sleep with same sex people. That's mental health. So there was mental health acknowledgement, but it was a negative
It was a stigma.
stigma to it. And
Yes.
and I could be wrong with this, and forgive me if I am. Fact check me. I will. take accountability. I will correct myself. But the people that are putting these stigmas and these things to mental health and to marginalized communities are the powerful white men who
Well, of
have,
course.
pardon?
I said, of course.
Yeah, yeah. And the common denominator that I'm finding with what research I've done, and take that grain of salt, thus I will down the hill. But these are the people that are told that they can't have mental health issues because they're straight, powerful, white.
Right.
They're the ones that are told that you can't rape anybody. People would be blessed to have sex with you. That is a privilege for them, thought by you, whether they want it or not.
Yes.
And we're passing this down. Until we get to the core of the problem, nothing's gonna be
Right.
fixed. And I'm
Right.
tired. Dr. Cindy, I'm tired of band-aids.
Yes. And the band-aids are because when you're the problem, you are the bully, you're going to pass it off. I didn't do that. That kid over there did it. It wasn't me. That was him. When we all know that it's the bully that's doing it, it's the projection, to put it in psychiatric psychological terms, they are masters at projection and gaslighting. So as long as we uphold the patriarchy and white women, I'm talking to you because white women raise these little assholes that become big assholes because they coddle them, they let them know that they're entitled, they have their sisters waiting on them hand and foot, and they can do no wrong. And I'm sick and fucking tired of it. Why are we raising little boys to become Nick Fuentes, Andrew Tate, and the guy that was just very, very tragically unalived? Why are we raising little boys to believe that they have that kind of privilege to be able to terrorize everyone else who's not like them? So much so that now they're terrorizing each other because one faction of incels isn't like the other faction of incels or whatever. I mean, it's just the most ridiculous. Now they're infighting with one another. And of course, the powers that be don't want us to believe that, right? They still do everything they can to pin it on that kid over there that's trans or that's an immigrant. It's, because they will not take responsibility. So white women need to step up to the plate, get the hell out. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. This is going to be really unpopular with some people. Get out of the church. Get out of the religion that is having you swallow this patriarchy hook, line, and sinker and raise your little boys to go out and rape women and tell everyone that it's okay for them to do it.
Yeah.
I-
The fact that less than 24 hours of the announcement that Donald Trump allegedly won the election, hold the podcast. We'll not have that conversation with you.
Mhm.
but when it was announced that he was going to be, or he is going, or he is the president, and won over Kamala Harris, within hours there was videos circulating of college boys in Texas saying to college girls,
Yes. Your body, my choice. Yeah. Yeah.
"I dare motherfucker to say that to my
Right.
goddaughter, to say that to my niece."
Oh, I know. I know.
But they're
We have,
given permission. Donald
right,
Trump getting elected into office gave permission to people to no longer wear a filter.
right.
You may not like black people. You may
Right.
say the N word in your head. Do I love that? No. But you are filtered enough to just say it in your head, not out loud. I'm a victim in the past 10 years of a brutal rape and hate crime.
Yes.
In the past 8 months, what was been 8 months since he's been in office, I've been called a faggot more times in the last 8 months than I have my entire life growing up. And the person that raped me, beat me, and thought he murdered me never said it during those few hours he was with my body as many times as I've now heard it in public. It has given people permission.
Yes.
And
Yes. And the rest of us have to be willing, and I'm not saying you, but the rest of us who are not the targets need to be willing to stand up in public to these people and say, no, you don't. No, you don't. And when every time I see a video of, for instance, someone intervening in a situation where, for instance, ICE is dragging away somebody, kidnapping somebody, 9 times out of 10, I have to say, I'm very proud to say, it is women that are standing up.
yes,
So I don't want to paint all white women as being, the ones who want the proximity to power, but enough of them got him reelected. That is, if the election was
right.
authentic. That's another topic.
And I feel like when I have, you know what's so funny to me is I wanted to have a more light-hearted podcast platform because I want people to see a different side of me, right? And I
Mhm.
think that you, as a victim yourself, with you who is also an ally of other victims and survivor, like people who are not a part of my everyday life, like I always use the example of like family members that see me on the holidays.
Right.
They're still seeing the David 10 years ago with the black eyes and blue tears. They
Mhm.
walk on the eggshells with me, and I'm like, you can joke with me. I'm good.
Yeah. Right.
And what I think I may have even mentioned this in the episode that when I was on your podcast is this did not make me strong. This made me stronger, but I was already strong as fuck. That's why
Right.
I live. That's why I'm here today. And that's why I
Yes.
have my voice. I was
Yes.
not some weak little duckling until
Right.
someone tried to kill me. And then I
Hmm.
got strong. I was already strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that people who are not a part of my everyday life or a part of the survivor's everyday life always see them as that victim. And then that gets me in a place to where during the holidays I'm with these people that they're walking on eggshells and I'm walking on eggshells because they're eggshells. Me
Right.
as being a victim, but so I'm making weird jokes because I'm nervous and they don't
Yeah.
laugh at it. And then I think my joke hasn't landed. And then we all walk away, scratch our head like, what the fuck just happened?
Right. Just happened.
And so that's
Right.
why I wanted to do this time of podcast. And even if that means we start out with something light and we get with something heavy, sometimes I think that's what it takes, right?
Right.
And the
Right.
fact that we can have these heavy conversations
Hmm. Hmm.
and we can use our experiences, but we're not letting our experience dictate our opinion on what is happening right now.
Right.
I'm not letting my privilege. I come from a successful white American family.
Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
straight, as cute as I am. I'm just kidding. But,
Sure. Yeah, that would be, yeah. You'd be
but
fighting
no,
all kinds
I
of
mean,
women.
that's why I tell people, that's why I tell my straight people all the time. I'm like, you hate the fact that I'm gay. You would hate your life even more if I was
Right.
gay.
Right. Exactly.
But
Exactly.
either way, I recognize the privilege, right?
Yes.
And what I love about what you said about the women standing up, what I have noticed is Black women are always the first.
Yes.
And they're always, in order for them to fight for themselves, they have to fight for all. There are a lot of wonderful, strong
Mm.
women, period, that are standing up. But I find it most common with Black women, and I'm finding that white women are now finding their voice.
Well, what's happened, as you know, since he was reelected, supposedly, is that the Black community said, we're not fighting. And they shouldn't. They should sit this out because it's our turn. It's white people. It's been white people's turn for a long fucking time to stand up for the marginalized communities in this country. It's been our turn. And so Black women need to sit it out. And I support that. So what I want to see is white women not only raising their little boys to be respectful of women, to be equal laborers in the house, in the household, and to be have boundaries with their hands and their eyes and their entitlement. They need to have boundaries. So I want to see white women doing that with their little boys, but I also want to see white women standing up for the marginalized people in this country because we are the ones, 51% of white women vote Republican against their interests. And we have to stop deluding ourselves that proximity to power means nothing when power begins to take away your privileges, tells you that, oh, I'm sorry, you can't vote now because you took your husband's last name and that's not what is on your birth certificate. So sorry, you can't vote. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't get reproductive health care and you're just going to have to bleed out in the parking lot and die. It's not, it's their proximity to power is not saving them from that fate. So they're going to have to wake up and understand that and know that they're going to have to become unpopular with the white men in their communities. They're going to have to risk that. They're going to have to, come on, act like you have a vagina. It's much tougher than a set of balls. Act like you have what you have.
Power of the pussy.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So okay, as I mean, obviously, I guess I can talk to you all day, and I'm gonna have you back a million times. I do have a serious question to ask you
Okay.
because I'm not going to ask someone in your professional field this question yet, and I know that you are going to be just flat out honest, and so I'm buckling my seatbelt for this. Not that I need it, but you'll understand. So,
Okay.
in your extensive background in all the things that you've studied and researched and are so beautifully educated on, what feeling do you get or did you get and have with learning that RFK's role in the Department of Health? Is that not a slap in the face? Like, I'm
It's
gonna stop and let you answer.
it, it's nauseating. It's nauseating. The statements that he has made, just we can just take one subject, the statements he has made about autistic children is abhorrent. Abhorrent. demonstrates his deep ignorance about anything that he should know about in order to have the position that he has as head of HHS. He has absolutely no business in that position. His ideas are delusional, and it's when I found out he had a brain worm, it explained a little bit that okay, has a brain worm, and apparently the brain worm died of starvation because
Of course.
but no, it's such a slap in the face. And now to know that what he'd like to do with anyone who has a mental illness, and let's face it, that is such huge umbrella from people with mild learning disorders, to grandma with dementia. It's a huge set of the population. He wants to put them all in camps. Are we It's such a slap in the face to the American public. And I can tell you, I believe that Donald Trump did that on purpose, put him in that position on purpose, and did whatever he does to blackmail perhaps the Republican members of Congress to vote for him. um, because Donald Trump, and as we said, he's not running the show. He's not the real power in office, right? The people who are really in power want to tear it all down. So they put the most incompetent dingbats they could find in these positions in the cabinet, including Kash Patel and Kristi Noem. And we could go on and on. And then Elon Musk and his, and big balls and Doge. So
Like,
what's going to have to happen and what is happening is that the states are going to have to step up and do the work themselves. So the blue states, the blue governors are doing that for their states. They're instituting health policies in their states. The red governors, even if they wanted to, unfortunately, the red states don't have the funding. So they're not going to want to. And unfortunately, the people in the red states who voted for this mess because they were completely bamboozled, I think they were bamboozled by their own racism, quite frankly, because they just couldn't stand to put a black woman in office. They did, and Donald Trump is a racist piece of crap like they are. So they voted for him to put him in office and against their own interests. And now they're the ones they're going to suffer for it. And
oh,
people in blue states we're still going to get most of the health care that we need.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, the fact that, like, California, I had someone from Tennessee, they made a comment about something, and I said, you realize that the red states survive because of blue states,
Right, right.
such as California. And she said, no, you obviously know nothing. That is not how that works. And I was like, it's exactly
Uh, Actually, that is exactly how it works.
how it works. And I just, so there was a state the other day that had a horrific event, and Donald denied relief funds because of they disagree, their governor or something disagreed with them. But this was a red state that most of his that voted 70 something percent voted for him, and it was still denied because he's only helping people that worship him and kiss the ring. And Biden, whether you like him or hate him, he was fair across the board. Like, if the state needed help,
Hmm.
they got the
Right,
financial help.
right.
I Kamala, I just loved her. I mean, I still do. I think, especially when I see Mexico and their first female leader and what she's doing, the unity and
Mhm.
aggression. And
Mhm.
I,
Although, make no mistake about it, Claudia is having to capitulate to a great degree to the cartels,
sure, sure.
unfortunately, because
Uh,
the cartels are so prominent in Mexico. And so she is, yes, absolutely doing a lot of good things, but there is still that element there, unfortunately. And I
so
love Mexico. I mean, I used to have a house in Mexico for 10
yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah,
You
absolutely.
absolutely love them.
And I will say that I'm not as educated on that end of things because I was not very political until it was one thing when it was like, okay, I don't like this politician, I don't like this one, but everyone's rights were still intact and no one's life was in danger. This changes everything. And so now I'm like, educate, educate, educate to the point that like I've had to kind of tone out other things. So forgive any ignorance. Maybe I'm only seeing like the good side of things. But at the same time, like I still feel and maybe you can educate me on this, but absolutely there's going to be things that she has to maybe
Right.
compromise on or turn a blind eye to. But could it be because it's okay, I've got to get my foot in the door and change things as I
And
can?
do some,
Or
yes. Yes, I think that's absolutely right, and I think that we are so enamored of we're sort of starstruck when we see a country elect a female leader because, we've tried and tried and tried here and we've never been able to pull it off because patriarchy. But we want to believe, of course, when they're elected, that it's all roses and hearts, and it's not. They're still having to lead within a patriarchal system and often a not just patriarchal, but misogynist system. So in order to do that, they're just like women in business, when we become CEOs, when we become doctors, when we become lawyers, some, not just some of us, all of us have to, in part, adopt the ways of the patriarchy in order to be successful in our positions. And unfortunately, some women take that so far that they just become misogynists themselves, or it's always been there and it just comes out.
as I'm educating myself, right, at the past few years, I've had the thought of eh, all the bad things I'm finding come from men. And maybe a badass woman is what we need
Yeah.
to turn everything. And the fact that someone like Kamala, who not only is a female, but a woman of color, and uh, so she has those things.
And brilliant and educated and accomplished. Yeah.
Yeah, but even just being a female is, in a certain set of demographics' eyes, bad,
Yeah.
and being a female of color and in a certain viewpoint is less than. And she still has the strength. And not only did she have the strength to fight in the 100 days that was allotted to her, she also had the strength to announce her defeat.
Yes. Although way too soon, in my opinion.
100, but only a woman could do that.
Right.
Only a
I
woman
mean,
could do that.
when Trump lost to Biden, he wouldn't concede.
I'm so I swear to you, that is when the Kleenex prices went up because of
Right.
the shortage. I've never seen one of the one of the best podcasts that you and I both listen to is I Hip and I've had it.
Right.
The biggest titty baby in this world. God damn.
Right.
Okay, so we're obviously going to have a million more conversations. You probably do not know you're going to be on here with me for 2 hours. Although we've had plenty of conversations, you probably knew where we're going to be. So I'm going to ask you a rapid fire question that is
Okay.
completely lighthearted and fun, um, uh, to bring this to an end for now. Uh, so the question that I have for you, my love, is
Yes.
you are very loud, brilliantly loud. You stand up, you fight for all minorities, but you also vote and fight for the people that have more privileges than they fucking realize.
Yeah.
And I love that for you and about you, and I'm learning so much.
Oh, thank you.
Between your job and then coming home and making TikToks, what do you do for yourself to have just that cleansing moment to take care of you? Because you have to put your mask on in order to help educate and take care of us.
Every morning I meditate. I sit down and I write a gratitude list. I know that sounds kind of cliche, like everybody, oh yeah, here she goes, but and then I meditate and I light I use herbs and I have my quiet time in communion with my version, what I understand to be the divine. I'm not going to say God because God is a masculine and I don't believe it's either. I think it's both. And so there's that. I have to start my mornings that way. And then I take walks. I walk my dogs. I walk around the neighborhood. I always go to the gym. I take my time at the gym. But I'm fortunate enough to live about 40 minutes from the beach. I wish I could live on the beach, but man, that's expensive here in California. We psychiatrists don't make that much money. So, but on the days when I'm able to, I like to go down there. And one of my favorite things is to watch the sunset over the ocean, have a taco on the beach and watch the sunset, and maybe wade in and commune with Mother Ocean. So, yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for this conversation. And I don't know if I should say this and put it on the record, but I've learned so much from you, and you've inspired me and educated me more than you'll ever know. And what I don't know that I should say is, if you ever started doing TikTok videos of meditation or at the gym, I'm afraid I'd freaking do it. And everybody would bring me to the gym, but I'm afraid that I would be like, all right, doctor.
Well, one of my favorite creators on TikTok that after I do my meditation in the morning, I sometimes I'll open up TikTok and Auntie Jace. Do you know who Auntie Jace is?
No, I'll have to make sure I find them.
Auntie Jace is a Native American two-spirit creator. And every morning, Auntie Jace has a live and lights the sage, smudges you with the feather, guide, guides you through a meditation, reads from Native American writings. It's very, it's just, I just, if I could hug them, I would. I just want to, every time I see Auntie Jay's, I'm just like, oh, I want to hug you.
I love
So
that.
yeah, look up Auntie Jay's
I
on
will.
TikTok. Yeah.
I will. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, and thank you for becoming a friend of mine.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's all my pleasure.
Yeah, like we have such great conversation, and
Yeah.
I just uh, you hear so many bad things about social media, and they're like, oh, it taints us, it does, and sure, all those things can be true, but I've met some incredible people that have played such an impactful part of my life and my journey, such as you, because of social media. And so you take the good with the bad, and I have more good than bad because of social media. And
Yes, yes.
I can't wait to have you back. I just adore you. Thank you so much. I know there's a few hour time difference. It's my bedtime, your dinner time. So
Yes. Thank you, David. I'm so honored. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to more conversation with you.